Hey guys, I have a start copy of Ring of Fire, Book One, by Bobby Akart, and I'm going to start recording it today, at least the first bit, and I'm going to share with you just a few minutes of the prologue to get you excited. So, this is a different angle for me than I usually do, and I'm using the LS-208 to record this book because it is a wonderful microphone. They're all really good. My Mini K87 is good. I like that one for romance. There's something about that one. It's smooth. This one's more punchy, and I think it works better for certain books. And of course, there's always the 416 is not an audiobook mic. I've used it. I think it's too much, but it's great for commercials and other stuff. So here we go. Let me pull this back up. And here we go. Oh, by the way, that CVOX program is on. Prologue, November 2029. Aboard the DSV Alvin, off the coast of Oregon. The ocean swallowed light like a black hole. At a depth where sunlight could no longer penetrate, the ocean turned utterly black, an alien void pressing against the hull like the inside of a closed coffin. Beyond the last reach of the sun, darkness closed in around the titanium shell of the deep submergence vehicle, a submersible. You can see the mistakes, too. Against the hull like the inside of a closed coffin. Beyond the last reach of the sun, darkness closed in around the titanium shell of the deep submergence vehicle, a submersible no larger than a minivan, but built to withstand the crushing pressure of the deep sea. Inside, the crew of the deep submergence vehicle, Alvin, or DSV-2, floated in silence, cocooned in the hum of life support systems and the slow metronome of the captain's own breathing. The cockpit was barely wider than a broom closet. Bundles of cables twisted overhead like jungle vines, and displays flickered with endless data. Depth orientation, temperature, and radiation levels. Faint condensation beaded on the inside of the thick viewport, blurring the edges of an already invisible world. The sub's interior smelled of metal, recycled air, and a lingering trace of salt from the surface. The crew of 3, which included a former Navy submersible pilot and 2 scientists, was commissioned to study the remarkable sea life and vibrant ecosystem along the Juan de Fuca Ridge, a geological region off the coasts of America's Pacific. Off the coasts. Okay. Ecosystem along the Juan de Fuca Ridge. A geological region off the coasts of America's Pacific Northwest, representing the western edge of the Cascadia subduction zone, commonly referred to as CSZ. There, the Juan de Fuca plate constantly drifts eastward, trying to force itself under the massive North American tectonic plate in an ancient battle for supremacy. As it slides, it cools, becoming more dense, and then slowly dives under the less dense adjacent plate along the Cascadia Trench. This is how the seismic dance begins. The water released from this tectonic activity causes the overlying mantle to partially melt, forming magma that fills the volcanic chambers of the Cascada Ridge. Causes the overlying mantle to partially melt, forming magma that fills the volcanic chambers of the Cascade Ridge stretching from Northern California to British Columbia. As the magma in the chamber builds, it demands to be released. The question is always the same. When? These ancient volcanoes may not be as recognizable as some of their more historically famous counterparts, such as Yellowstone, Krakatoa, Tambora, and Fuji, but they were potentially catastrophic nonetheless. Mount Hood was renowned for its snow-capped peak as the highest point in the state of Oregon. Mount Rainier was the tallest volcano in the continental United States, reaching an elevation of 1,000 feet. It's like an apartment building. The tallest volcano in the continental United States, reaching an elevation of 14,410 feet. It was considered by volcanologists at the United States Geological Survey, USGS, as one of the most hazardous in the Cascade Range. Then there was Mount St. Helens, where a major eruption in 1980 resulted in large-scale avalanches. You lose it quick sometimes. Then there was Mount St. Helens, where a major eruption in 1980 resulted in large-scale avalanches, a volcanic plume that stretched into the stratosphere, and dozens of deaths. The tectonic activity along the CSZ was constantly observed and studied by volcanologists and geologists. For the scientists aboard the Alvin, their goal on that fateful morning was to study a reported ecological marvel revealed. Wow. I don't know if you heard it, I heard it. Click. Studied by volcanologists and geologists. For the scientists aboard the Alvin, their goal on that fateful morning was to study a reported ecological marvel revealed by one of the oceanic drones studying the Cascadia Trench. The submersible, commanded by former Navy Captain Rachel Bauer, adjusted her harness straps, the creak of woven fibers sounding far too loud in the tight space. The pressure of the belts was reassuring, a tactile reminder that she remained in control even as the weight of thousands of meters of seawater loomed around her. Her fingers drummed lightly against the armrest, a restless rhythm matching the mechanical click of a nearby relay. Outside, the abyss they came to study yawned. No fish, no rocks, no light. Just the pure, unrelenting darkness of a world untouched by sun. The submersible's heads-up display glowed green with telemetry data. Current depth was 4,147 feet and descending. External temperature just above freezing. Hull integrity was holding. Oxygen levels were normal. Inside, the two scientists Captain Bauer ferried to the deepest, darkest depths of the Cascadia Trench chattered. Trench. Excuse me. Oxygen levels were normal. No, they weren't normal. They were nominal. You idiot! Freezing. Hull integrity was holding. Oxygen levels were nominal. Inside, the two scientists Captain Bauer ferried to the deepest, darkest depths of the Cascadia Trench chattered with nervous anticipation. The descent was slow, deliberate, engineered. With each passing meter, the surface world drifted further from memory. During the arduous journey downward, there was little to see, except for plankton floating aimlessly through the DSV's external lighting. Above her, the Resolute, Noah's flagship research vessel, was now only a signal on the sub's status feed. Captain Bauer, how are y'all doing? The voice of Mark Taggart, a Biloxi, Mississippi native, was shiest. Forgot when I did that one. I noted it and didn't remember it. Now only a signal on the sub's status feed. Now only a signal on the sub's status feed. Captain Bauer, how y'all doing? The voice of Dr. Mark Taggart, a Biloxi, Mississippi native, crackled through her headset distorted by distance and the ocean's interference. His tone was casual, but she knew him well enough to hear the thread of concern beneath it. Taggart had been her mentor. Not her mentor. Her mentor. She knew him well enough to hear the thread of concern beneath it. Taggart had been her mentor, her colleague, and for one complicated year, something more. Still here, she replied, keeping her voice neutral. Her eyes remained on the viewport, though it revealed only darkness. Passing 2,200 meters, approaching the trench walls. Copy that. Just remember, Axial's Seamounts summit is at 1,400. You're nearly a kilometer beneath it now. Keep an eye on terrain contours. Noted, she replied with a slight smile before adding, Sir. Technically, Dr. Taggart was her superior on the mission, although neither looked at one another that way. Not sure I like how that sounds. Noted, she replied with a slight smile before adding, Sir. Yeah, it's fine. Mission. It's fine. Neither looked at one another that way. Her hand reached for the lateral thrusters, easing the submersible into a slow drift. Sometimes words click together and it doesn't work. It happens. I'm going to just do a tidbit more, and I'm going to leave you wondering what the hell is going to happen. Her hand reached for the lateral thrusters, causing the submersible into a slow drift to starboard. The Alvin obeyed with a muted hiss, gyros adjusting for the current. The motion reminded her of flying through smoke, each subtle adjustment carving through an invisible medium. Then, suddenly, as if biblical... Not as easy as you think. Then suddenly, as if biblical in nature, there was light. What seemed like millions of tiny organisms, disturbed by the sub's approach, exploded around her, alive with living threads of luminescence that spiraled in patterns before fading. Jellyfish, translucent and ghostly, pulsed like distant stars. An eel slithered past, its body skeletal and serpentine, before vanishing into the void. The Alvin was surrounded by incredible bioluminescence. It was a phenomenon created by a chemical reaction when deep-sea organisms convert chemical energy into light energy. In a way, it was nature's quiet rebellion against oblivion and darkness. Captain Bauer leaned closer to the viewport, captivated. Even after a decade of deep-sea missions, the sight struck her as miraculous. But then wonder faded quickly. The lights retreated, swallowed once again by the dark. By something unexpected. The first jolt was subtle. A minor vibration, barely more than a whisper through the DSV's reinforced frame. The crew of 3 simultaneously stiffened, their fingers freezing momentarily to grip their restraints. The instability could have been caused by any number of things. A minor seabed shift, deep current turbulence, or even the DSV's sensors responding uncharacteristically to the external stimuli. But Captain Bauer's instincts. But Captain Bauer's instincts seemed... Some lines just like... But Captain Bauer's instincts screamed otherwise. She waited. 12 seconds later, it happened again. This time it was unmistakable. A low, resonant frequency rumbled through the hull like the deep strummings of a cello. Strumming. Yep, not strummings. This time it was unmistakable. A low, resonant frequency rumbled through the hull like the deep strumming of a cello. It came from below. Silly me. It came from below, and it lingered. A demonic tone woven into the structure of the ocean itself. The control panel... I'm trying to pick when to stop, which is going to be real soon. The control panel flared with activity. Data readings scrolled rapidly. Pressure fluctuations, evidence of heat pockets forming, and a sudden spike in seismic activity portended trouble. "Mark, you getting this?" Her voice was calm, too calm. Her passengers noticed. A burst of static preceded his... Too calm. Her passengers noticed. A burst of static preceded his... Again, I said his. It's the response, not his response. The response. Her passengers noticed. A burst of static preceded the response. "Affirmative. Our drones along the San de Fuga are lighting us up across the board with data. Cascadia is moving, and the hydrothermal vent fields are opening." Her stomach tightened. Cascadia. The geological monster hadn't unleashed its full fury since 1700. Certainly not in living memory. "Until now," she muttered. "Please, God. Not now." Her voice was barely above a whisper, but the frightened scientists who'd hoped to observe rarely seen sea life had not anticipated being thrust into the middle of a seismic event of this nature. Outside the viewport of the DSV, something shifted. At first, Captain Bauer thought it was an optical illusion. The ocean's silt-laden stillness often played tricks, but then she saw it. Terrain that had seemed static now tilted slightly, and a faint line raced across the seaford like a crack seafloor. What's a seaford? Stillness often played tricks, but then she saw it. Terrain that had seemed static now tilted slightly, and a faint line raced across the seafloor like a crack spidering through glass. A new fracture. Long and deep. And that's all you get. That's it. For the rest of it, you'll have to get the book. Read it, or listen, or better yet, read it and listen. So, hope you enjoyed that. It's a glimpse into what I do. I don't do it often. Maybe I'll do it more. But this is the audiobook world. And it's my bread and butter. As much as I want to do other stuff, this is what I do mostly. And I enjoy the hell out of it. And it's audiobook month. Oh my God, I almost forgot. June is audiobook month. So there you go. Maybe I'll come back later with something about what I mean and me. But this is about Bobby Akart's Ring of Fire, Cascadia, book 1. I don't know how many books there are in this series. There's more than one, so that's good. The next one's going to come out in July. This is coming out June 18th. I'll have it done within a week, if not sooner. And that should be plenty of time to get it to go live with the book on the 18th, if Audible's listening. So, I hope you enjoyed it. It's going to be exciting. You can tell it's getting there. It's just beginning. Have a good Saturday, and have a good week, and have a good summer, and I'll be back again with more when I can. You like the view of the light in the wall? It's something new. Take care, guys. Enjoy your weekend. I'm out.